So do you guys... Dude, I can't do this shit. All right. Do you guys remember Tatty C? For those of you guys that don't know, Tatty C was basically like a super fan of the show that went way too far. She started like emailing. She started like trying to like get involved. This is somebody I've never spoken to, by the way. Let me just make that clear. They started like, they're 30 years old, by the way. Not exactly, but they're around that age. They're 30. They're basically 30 years old. If you round up, it's 30. Okay. Although rounding up is still being charitable because my God, they look. Never mind. So anyway, they're a former ex-fan of the show that I'm sure you guys know about. Crazy. I use the word stalker because I couldn't really come up with a better word to describe this particular individual. Basically, they're insane. They would write poetry about how cool I am and how much they wanted to. Well, some exceptional quotes were, he brought me closer to God, which doesn't make any sense because, you know, I don't really talk about my religion. I mean, I am religious, but I don't really talk about that too much on stream. And also the stuff they were saying was not at all godlike. Like, for instance, they tweeted once, they were tweeting about how they wanted to have my babies. They tweeted about how they like fantasized about me reading the Bible to our children and weird shit like that. But in contrast to that, they would also tweet rancid shit like, I reserved my pussy for you and only you, which is disgusting. That's terrible. It's probably one of the worst things that's ever been said in relation to me on Twitter, period, I think, honestly. Well, I had mentioned before that they write a lot of poetry, and this is still something that's true. Apparently, somebody, well, it was Connor. Connor had showed me, he called me earlier, like literally like 30 minutes ago. And he was like, hey dude, I know you're about to stream, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, have you seen this? And apparently this is part 1 of her final poem directed to me. You know, people always are like, give me 2 sides of the story. Well, here we go. This is part 1 of her last poem to me. How many parts? Well, she claims 2. We'll see how that goes. But I thought that we would take a look at this brand new piece of literature that was just published by her. And I thought we would, you know, give our thoughts on it, basically, right? So it's only 1 page long, so it's not that long, but let's take a listen. The second to last stanza. In the grand epic of my love for you, before you severed it to an end, feels weak now as I render it in my mind. It comes as no surprise to me, though. I felt certain truths rise to the surface that were not mirrored in my words as I wrote them. Mostly that I did not want to slave and waste my life away, hoping and pleading that each letter would somehow bring forth the truth within you, would somehow move you in an inescapable way. In my weakest state, I told myself that I would give up on love if I could not get the chance to attempt it with you. But in reality, seeing the core root of who you really are gave me faith in knowing that the only love one needs resides within. I lied when I said I would write page upon page of my undying love for you. I lied when I said you deserved it, because you have done nothing in this world to exemplify that you must. I will not write my love for you endlessly without it being requited like some miserably inadequate bystander with no inclination towards myself. It was an unintentional repetition, as if my body remembered that the year prior on my father's birthday, I was confessing my love to you instead of giving him the attention and care a deliberate daughter would. Now that was page 1, and I just want to point out before we get to page 2, she's admitting that on her father's birthday, instead of visiting him and spending time with him, she was writing erotic poetry about me. But we'll go on, all right? I lied. I said it was only 1 page long. All right, I got sent more. Too consumed by needing to hear your voice in my regard to disengage, too worthless to respect myself enough to stand tall against the auto-annihilation I was succumbing to. I knew I was lying. If not to you, then to myself, grasping at the final straws of what the better part of me knew was almost over, of what I needed you to corrode into because I was not strong enough to do so by myself. Lactic acid rushing through my veins as you snarled at me like the animal that you accused me of being. All right, pause right there. Lactic acid? What is that? What is going on? Lactic acid. What? Why? Fucking why? Oh, dude. Fucking what is going? I don't even have commentary for this at this point. I literally have no commentary for this. Honestly, this took a turn that I was I can't do this show, man. This took a turn that I was not expecting. Yeah, it gets points for descriptive wording, all right. Sorry, let me reread that line just one more time. Lactic acid rushing through my veins as you snarled at me like the animal that you accused me of being. Your energy rancid, curdling, and shredding as you publicly launched demonic razors from your throat with trajected destination towards my precious and sanctified body, only to be stilled by my thick skin and rampant sense of morality. What is happening, guys? What the fuck is going on? It goes on. A concession, of course. One did get lodged deep in my esophagus, swallowed whole and still bleeding as I speak, but worthwhile. At this point, I can only imagine what she's describing here, all right? To be quite honest, I don't really know what she's talking about, but I can make a few guesses, all right? I can sort of paint a visual picture as to what we're talking about here. That being said, it's kind of difficult to understand exactly. Like, I can think in vague terms what's going on here. It's a little bit difficult to understand exactly what's happening. All I know is that somehow I quote unquote brought this person closer to God, yet they're writing, again, erotic poetry about me. But it gets worse, all right? Not crustier, but it gets worse. Ultimately though, you stupid insolent child, it was your counterfeit disgust slathered in radioactive sludge dripping from your frothed and manic lips as you lashed out at my cunt. Okay, maybe I lied, it is getting crusty. For it simply existing, for it once having been completely and fully yours, not anymore, never again. That showed me how much of a pathetic bitch you actually are. Now, obviously there's a lot to point out here, all right? Obviously we can break this down a lot. There is one thing I want to point out. She opens up this paragraph talking, she says, ultimately though, you stupid insolent child. And then she goes on admitting that, well, as she said in her tweet so eloquently, my pussy was yours and only yours. So you mean to tell me that you gave up your pussy to a child? Dude, what are you talking about? She calls me a child and then says that it was all for me in the same fucking paragraph, right? I'm not being dishonest, all right? I'm not being disingenuous here. It's in the same fucking paragraph. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is that we've got some sus fucking poetry here, all right? This is some sus writing. Her language, not mine, okay? It's getting... it's getting worse. But we must continue to page 3, the final page. Mutually aware that your rancor was performed, the truth being that you hate yourself, not me, for not genuinely being abhorred at my devotion, with me as just the collateral target in the end. So let me tell you this. You are weak. You will never be something. I just felt pity for you from day one. And I'll ask you one time, when was the last time you went to confession? Because I believe you are more than due, and I know you know that too. And that's the end of it, right there. So what she's saying, if you weren't following along with there, is that her whole crazed arc of simping over me to these extreme levels was just a troll. It was just a bait. It was all bullshit. In reality, sorry, I have to read this again. This is just, I don't even know how to break this down, dude. I don't even know, man. It's a cope, basically. She felt bad for me. That's why she simped for me. Because she felt bad for me. That's the reason there. This is the worst parasocial shit I've ever heard. I mean, look, YouTubers want to talk about parasocial relationships all the time, all right? I think my example exemplifies some of the worst. Now, luckily, it hasn't gone to a level where, you know, this person's like showing up to my house or is any sort of danger to me or anything like that, all right? At this point, the way things are, it's just something that is A, simultaneously funny, but B, more of an example of just insanity and just something to never end up being like. Again, if this person was a child, I probably wouldn't be doing this right now. All right, it's, you know, it's just like, look, kids are crazy. They have time to learn and grow up, all right? This person, they're crazy, but they're beyond saving. Some people just can't get fixed, all right? And this person is just a prime example of that. There's nothing that's ever gonna happen to this person that's gonna like change them for the better or something. They're just fucked and broken. And in some way it's sad, but I can't really feel sad about that because it's just, you know, they were trying to, you know, basically like, get involved in my shit in a creepy way that I was absolutely not, you know, down for. So I mean, I don't really feel bad at all. That's why I'm doing this, but it's also like just like an example of like this is the type of person that you're gonna walk into a Walmart one day, right? And this person's gonna be like 50 years old and they're gonna be fat and working a minimum wage job, and they're gonna be walking along the halls, taking up the whole fucking aisle, and it won't even take one word with this person, one conversation for you to realize the reality of what you're looking at, all right? A broken individual with really no hope who probably needs like, you know, somebody in their life to sort of guide them, but it never happened. It's never going to happen. And, you know, you're just gonna look at this person and be like, holy shit, dude. Thank God this isn't me, you know? Like things might be shit for you, but in that moment, and you won't come to this conclusion based on any conversation with her, you'll just know. It would just like hit you like a fucking freight train, you know? Where it's like, Jesus, man. Because I don't know, man. I've had many experiences like this where it's like I'm out in public and I'd see people and I could be wrong, but somehow I feel like I have gathered a little bit about their life story and it just kind of makes sense, you know? So I don't know. I'm just saying it's you know, to some extent it's funny. It is. It's objectively funny, but like it's also really sad. So I'm just throwing that out there. Like it's sad. Line ad through 3. I can fix her. You know what? I was wrong. All right. There is people that can fix people like this. All right. It's guys like line ad. She basically said the equivalent of your dick is small after a breakup, just a cope. Well, there's no breakup, dude. Like, I want to stress this enough, all right? One of the worst things I was afraid of when I talked about this is that people would misconstrue that this is somebody I talk to, which in some sense I was horrified of people thinking that, you know, because it would just be a bad look on my part, right? Like, honestly, not even just a bad look. That would honestly probably ruin my image, you know? Like, I'm on Cozy TV, all right? So, you know, my image from people thinking that I talked to Teddy C would be far more damaged, probably to the point of where I couldn't rebuild it, than if people found out I streamed on, you know, Cozy TV, you know, the Nazi website, right? Like, my image, like, people are saying that this is a bad idea, right? What is a bad idea is people thinking I talk to that, all right? Like, I'm just throwing that out there right now, okay? Honestly, I'm probably not gonna cover anything about her beyond this. I feel like if I ever cover her again, it's at that point, it's just beating a dead horse. You could make the argument that it's just harassment. It's just total fucking bullying, which I might even agree with you with. I mean, even still, like, even if I wanted to cover her again, like, all the ground that could possibly have been covered has been covered already. You know, unless she fucking shows up to my house to try to kill me or something like that. Like, you know, that, I feel like at this point, like, we've gone through every level somebody can go through without, you know, extremes. So there's just no point anymore.